That's bipartisan. That's putting this country in a vice, okay? 65% believe the government is too big and restricting freedoms. All this tension squeezes us, squeezed from both sides. Half of the country, not even half, there's a third of the country, think we should continue on the same path, keep spending and hope that we come out of it. The other side says, if you keep doing that, it's going to get much, much worse. Moody says the situation of the world's biggest economies requires countries like the U.S. to make, quote, fiscal adjustments of a magnitude that in some cases will test social cohesion. What does that mean? That's society breaking down. That's the vice. We're talking about riots or chaos. Not here, but all over the world. But yet Moody's is still recommending those fiscal adjustments. Why? Because waiting, quote, is no less risky. No less risky than the loss of social cohesion? Are you kidding me? Why would you ever want to risk this? Ever? Why would you entertain doing anything that would risk this? The only way you would do it is if you're insane, you're a radical, you're a revolutionary, or because the other option is actually worse. How do you avoid all of this? Is to make tough, smart, sober decisions and try not to inflame things. And yet our leaders seem to be doing exactly the opposite. All we see is the water starting to boil. I mean, the tea kettle is starting to boil. And the government is just as they're turning up the heat. You're like, hey, hey, hey. They see the pressure building. And they turn that flame higher and higher. What is that flame? What is that vice that they're tightening? I'll show it to you next. America is angry. The progressives in Washington, the liberal Democrats, they've always said, well, we should understand those in the Middle East and we should talk to them. And yet they don't want to do that with the Tea Party members. They don't want to do that with about 60%. We're angry because America opposed this health care bill in essentially every single point, a poll taken, usually well into double digits. But the president and Congress didn't care. And they have used every underhanded legislative trick in the book. And they passed it. 62% of Americans want the fight against this health care bill. 62% want it to continue. But the debate's getting shut down because there's hate speech. Then they've decided that they're going to move immediately into immigration reform. Do they not remember, or do they, what happened to this country last time they tried this in, what was it, 2004? Do you remember what? We were almost ripped apart. And that's when times were good. Pensions now are out of control. States are being hit particularly hard. Can you sell your house? Do you have a job? How's your pension? Is it holding up? The vice. Chris Christie is now trying to make pensions in New Jersey more reasonable. Something's got to give here. Surely the unions won't make his life difficult because of that fight. California not only can't pay for its pensions, it can't pay its responsibility back to the taxpayers. It can't pay for its prisoners. So they want to reduce the amount of prisoners in the state by 6,500, all by next year. 6,500 prisoners, just release them out into the streets. What could possibly go wrong in a state with the nation's highest recidivism rate? Nothing. Then 6 years earlier than projections, 6 years early, Social Security is now upside down. You know that day that they said was coming? It's here now. The system, for the first time now, is going to have to raid its vast stash of government IOUs sitting in West Virginia. They're just going to have to open up those vaults of the bogus paper. The government now has to go to the government and ask the government for more money because the government owes the government money. The government needs to say, hey, this pocket is empty. Can you get it out of this pocket? And this pocket doesn't have any money. Supposed to be in there, but no. There's just a note from this pocket that said, hey, by the way, I put that money in there, then I had to take it back and put it in this pocket as we needed to spend it. But I'm going to ask you, so make sure there's money in there. See what's happening? So what are they going to do? They're going to go out and they're going to run up more government debt and pay it back to this pocket so they can put it into this pocket. With a reminder that this pocket has to pay this pocket back so they can pay the Chinese back. Yeah, this is sustainable. This is nuts. And they call the Tea Party goers insane? At the same time this is happening, there's another story. The Middle East is on fire. We've just kicked dirt into the Prime Minister of Israel's eyes, while the Saudis have arrested over 100 terrorists now looking to blow up their energy facilities. What would that do? That would drive the price of oil sky high. Hey, how would you like to add $6 a gallon gasoline on? How'd that be for you? Our leadership now is continuing to push for a cap-and-trade bill, which will raise our energy prices and, of course, limit our own oil production. So let me see if I have this right. If the Saudi oil fields don't burn down to the ground, if they catch all the terrorists and nothing ever happens there, we can be dependent on them. But we're going to dry up all of our oil anyway because we're going to have a big cap and trade. We're not going to be able to go for that. What are they doing to us? What are they doing? We must be independent. These pressures keep building, and the vice gets tighter and tighter and tighter. There are not easy long-term principles, but there are long-term principles that will solve these issues. We have talked about them at length many times. We're going to talk about them in the next few weeks. I'm going to solve some of these things, and I'm telling you, you don't have to agree with my answer, but you've got to be behind something that makes sense. In the shorter term, we just need to keep our heads. We need to fight hard within the rules and pray. Get down on your knees and pray. Pray. It's September 11th all over again, except we didn't have the collapsing buildings. But we need God more than ever. Gandhi said, use truth as an anvil and a hammer, nonviolence. And you just keep pounding on that with nonviolence. And you reject anything that doesn't make sense. We can beat the issues that lie ahead of us. We can do it. But the situation is only made more difficult when our own leadership, our own Congress, our own president is not telling us the truth, and for political reasons are tightening that vice. I'm headed to Orlando, Florida tomorrow. I'm going to do a live show there tomorrow night, and it's kind of a listening tour. I mean, I don't need to listen. You don't need to listen. Those in Washington need to listen. And then on Saturday is the first American Revival stop. This is something that I've been putting together for a while, and this is actually everybody who buys a ticket gets a copy of this book. It is more important than ever now to get in touch with our core principles that we have in each of us. I'm telling you the way to solve this is with faith, hope, and charity. We're under attack, unlike anything ever before, from multiple fronts. I've talked about for almost, probably 8 years now, a perfect storm would come. It's here. The left is trying to paint people as crazy, dangerous, and violent. I mean, listen to Steny Hoyer. Here he is talking about what's happened since they passed the health care bill. Listen to this.
Some of the threats that have been made are very, very serious. We need to be very careful in public life that our rhetoric does not turn to incitement of violence or violent acts against those. In our democracy, we have disagreements.
Yeah, we do. We do. We do. The right is being set up for a fall. If heaven forbid anything happens, I have told you this for a long time, it will destroy the republic. And I think far too many people in America that want the republic to fail know that. For us to be able to survive, we have to know who we are, what we believe, what we are really all about as Americans. We have to understand true faith, true hope, true charity. So many Americans are shell-shocked by the passage of this bill. Where do we go from here? What do we do? On Saturday, I'm going to provide direction. I have some of the best people in the country that are joining me. They helped me put this together. I mean, I've got I've got articles in here that are just absolutely fantastic. The importance of limited power. Judge Andrew Napolitano is going to be there with me. Damon Vickers, Where to Crossroads, What Will Our Legacy Be? Ben Sherwood, How to Survive Anything. Carl Rove wrote for this. Burton Folsom Jr. It's really good. And you'll notice that as you walk in, you'll notice that these are big binders. These are big rings here. And that's because you have to add to it. This is the beginning. I'm going to be on stage throughout the day, including giving the keynote speech. You don't want to miss a second of it, because it's really not me teaching you. It's me trying to help you teach others. And there will be question and answer session and everything. We'll talk about how our faith has been rotted from the inside. We need to get back into our churches. But people like Jeremiah Wright and the president's new spiritual advisor, Jim Wallace, have helped rot our churches and our faith from the inside.